Welcome back to Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, Prowler only. Last time we took on Fatalis, and this time we will be taking on our favorite Rathalos rare species again. But we will not be taking him on with his lovely counterpart, I guess you can say that. The quest is by the light of the Silvery Wrath, has us hunting a hyper Silver Rathalos in the Misty Peaks at night. Have the Incarnating Greed equipped. We'll go ahead and take that quest and head on out. Prepare to have so much fun. This monster is about as close to a world monster as I think you can get in the older games. He is very heavy on AoE tracking. He's very fast a lot of the times, depending on which spot his body is powered up by the hyper essence. His head will always be powered up by hyper, so that is something you can rely on, and something I have neglected and mentioned in the past, and that's just because I either forgot or just didn't know, is that hyper spots do actually increase the hit zone. I don't remember by how much. I want to say Silver's head when broken is a hit zone of 63 as opposed to 50. Maybe wrong on the specific, and maybe 62 or something like that. I'm thinking maybe a 1.2 multiplier or something like that. I don't remember it exactly, but that does make it where you may actually want to go for the head now. I tried this quest multiple times, and I've done it many, if I can say that, as many times as I can before, because I don't hate the fight. It feels like it's more designed around Adept, and he's not really doing much right now, but now that he's enraged, he's going to be a lot faster. Again, lots of large AoE. You can see that big fireball there. But I tried this quest 3 times, like immediately recording it, or before recording this, if I can even speak. And I did 2 quests with the Celestial Squall, which would be a Matsu's weapon. 1 quest without Flash Bombay, and then 1 quest with it. Using that, trying to stagger it, because this is a fight where you're not going to get many Mega Boomerangs off since he's so fast. And I'm playing very carefully here because he can do a lot of damage and combo you into very bad things. I did a 3rd quest with this weapon and Flash Bombay, and this was the closest I got to sub 15. Like, I was maybe at most 30 seconds over 15 minutes. So I feel like this is going to be better considering the fact that you're not able to get that many Mega Boomerangs off. The normal, just kind of natural damage, and especially on a monster that's kind of similar on cutting and blight zones, the extra element is going to help here, and especially since we're not fighting Rathian either, we're not having to worry about losing damage by going and building more into water element. That water element is really helping out here. The wings take a very decent amount, the head takes a decent amount until it's broken, and even when it's broken, you're dealing so much more raw damage that the tiny bit that it does lose is still fairly nice. And of course, that hyper spot also makes it a better hit zone. I believe the back is still best until you get the head broken. And then, of course, once you get the head broken, it's better to just go for that since it's easier to reach and not have to worry about clipping the wings for. Now, when I used the Celestial Squall, the face never really broke until he was like at about 5% HP, something like that. But when I used this one, it broke at like 20%, which is much better. You're going to get a lot more use out of that hit zone if you break it a lot earlier. And I wasn't particularly aiming for it and trying to break it as quick as possible. Again, it is more helpful and more efficient if you do it that way. However, I'm just more worried about consistent damage here. And I know it doesn't look like he's the most dangerous in the world, but I've been playing very passively against him right now. However, as you can see, we already have 6 bars of gauge. It's a very greedy attack. So again, hyper monsters, if it's powered up by the hyper spot, hitboxes are going to be a lot larger on the projectile attacks and just element attacks in general. As you saw, that flame bite there reached very far, especially compared to the standard counterpart. It's going after a Palico here. And again, it's not bad to try to hit the back through the wings. The wings are taking okay damage. It's not the end of the world. You may even get a knockdown for it, so you may be able to actually combo a Mega Boomerang from it. But again, the biggest problem is the combos that it can do. A lot of his fireballs have wind press hitboxes on the outside of them, so even if you position out of the way of the fire hitbox, you may still be hit by the wind press and then be comboed by something else. For Adept, not as bad. You can either dodge the wind press hitbox or the fire hitbox and just completely ignore any other hitboxes that are going on there, as long as he doesn't combo another attack immediately into you. after your offerings end. But it's just going to be a very slow fight until you get enough for Flash Bomb bait. I think this is a maybe safe spot. I'll try to use it there. However, didn't quite go off very well. We'll do this. He does that little Dread King swoop, which will sometimes position him in a great position for the Flash Bomb bait to hit him, and sometimes it will position him right out of the way of it. So you do want to be careful about that. Flash Bombs are really nice. A lot of the times he'll just stand there, or he'll just spam a lot of melee attacks where you can just get out of the way of, which is great. Even if you don't have charge for Mega Boomerangs, it's still a great chance for standard DPS as well. And if you want to get a charge for it, then you can just go for the face. So it's, again, that's always going to be powered up. So we're just going to charge or throw some uncharged ones out here so we can charge our gauge faster. His little tackle. Looks like he's going to move areas. He can either move to the area this way, which would be area 9 or area 6. Just depends. I don't know if it's damage based or if it's just like a coin flip. It's like, I'm going this way this time. Looks like he's going out to area 6 this time. So that's fine. Doesn't really matter either way. Just don't go up to area 9 before he moves, or else you'll have to jump down and then go back up. It takes a while, so just give him a chance to actually move. If we had enough charge that I'd feel safe to actually use a Mega Boomerang there, you can catch him off guard on that, but it's not the end of the world. And remember, we have the 10% less damage on our Mega Boomerangs because we're using a bullet weapon, so we're not getting the most value out of the world of it. It's still good. Obviously, it's a Mega Boomerang, but you may actually just opt for standard attacks if you think you're going to have more time to get them out. Do a fireball there. I really probably should start going on the face more. That way I can actually maybe get that break a lot faster than I have been. Go fight Win once more. Just wore off, and now our other cat gave it to us. Unfortunately, he's going to lose it. I'm going to throw this out since he ran so far away. He can fireball me, and he's trying to. However, I had some distance on him, so that's good. And again, you really want to be careful of those fireballs. They are very misleading on where they actually hit and where the visual hitbox is, because you may just end up being hit even if it looks like you were just hit by a wind press hitbox. Little bite. Here comes the Enrage. I may be a little too close here and I might get hit by the fireball. We're going to hope not. Okay, I didn't. Again, I've fought him so much, a lot of this is just muscle memory, waiting him out. Remember, the Talon Dive always leads into the 4-quadrant fireball. Always run diagonally. You do not have any time at all to actually counter him during that. Unlike the standard version, it comes out almost immediately and you will be hit by it. He can angle it upwards to where the initial hit will hit you, or he can angle it downwards to where the first one will hit before you and then the other hits will hit. After that, you may be actually caught off guard by that. You want to be careful. It's a fireball. I'm going to throw this up. His wings are so large as well that you may just be hitting them, throwing your boomerangs out randomly, which is good. That'll help your DPS along a little bit. If he's not quite close to you to hit an actual good hit zone, that's fine. If you do have enough initiative, you can actually run back away from the fireball, the one that explodes. So you may try that if you're not using Adept. You really, really, really have to be on your toes. I think it's a fun fight, but I think it's a fun fight with Adept. I haven't really fought him too much, except for a very long time ago with Collect Cat, and I remember it not being the most fun experience in the world. It's something you would have to practice even more than I've practiced him now with Adept Cat. His little Talon Dive into a fireball. Now, the Talon Dive that he does when he goes up into the air will usually be comboed by just another air tackle. That one's much safer than the quadrant fireball. Again, you really just want to stay away from that because the damage is insane. That little stationary flamethrower he does is also very large for what it looks like. So you just want to spam your dodge and get an adept dodge off on it. Here comes the double tail sweep. I think he can only do double tail sweeps, which is good. It gives you a chance to punish him. But he may just randomly pull out a single tail sweep into something else. I don't remember off the top of my head. This is the fire or flamethrower. Comes the quadrant fireball. Again, we are dodging diagonally backwards. Either way, if you're on his left side, dodge diagonally left. If you're on his right side, do it right. That will be safer. You may still be able to cover the distance one place to another if you have the time for it. However, it is just safer to go as long as there's not a wall. And that's the thing, you're going to want to keep some space to move either direction, because if you are put in a wall, you may just be kicked right into a charge hitbox or something like that. And that's generally a good rule of thumb, especially against something like Tigrex or, you know, regular Rathalos as well. I'm going to go ahead and throw this out, maybe a little greedy. Now, of course, that will still hit his body and explode early, which will knock you backwards. I'm going to throw this one out. I think this is fine, maybe. As you can see there, it hit me, so I'm going to lose some time. However, It's not the end of the world. The worst part is really the enrage just going off at the worst times, unfortunately. I don't think that will hit me. It did hit me, but that's okay. We got the Mega Boomerang out. I'm going to throw one more. Try to close some distance on him. He's kind of backing away. Again, he can't see you. I don't know how quite their melee triggers work when they are flashed, because sometimes they'll spam a lot more in your general direction. So maybe they have a thing similar to Kezu where they kind of know where you're at, but they don't know exactly where you're at. So Kezu does just see you. It's just that, oh, technically he doesn't have any eyes, so he smells you. But I think there may be a thing where if you touch them, they know where you're at in sort of sense. However, I could just be wrong on that. That may just me being weird about it. I thought I'd outrun that. It's okay. There's the air tackle afterwards. It's not a scary air tackle. You can usually throw a boomerang forward after he does the Talon dive, and it'll hit him as he comes back in for the swoop. And he'll usually land immediately where he starts the Talon dive after his air tackle. So it's actually a pretty easy attack to get a Mega Boomerang off of if you do have the initiative for it. It's going to land here. I think I'm going to throw this out since I have Go Fight Win for it. I think that's fine. It may not hit him. Didn't hit him. I don't mind spamming another one. Again, even if we don't have charge for Mega Boomerang, we do just get to use our standard attacks. This is a bit greedy. I think we'll trade, but that's okay. We have both of our defense buffs up, so I'm not really as worried about taking damage here. I'm going to throw this one out, and that should be able to trigger on him if he's not looking at our Palico. All right, I'm going to hold off for now. Try to get another charge going back up for it. Again, it's unwieldy to use flash bombs. When you do get them off, it's great. It's a lot of damage you can get off. However, you really got to hope he's not just going to do something completely random that you can't really predict. That is the downside of having incredibly long delay for your flash bombs to come out. It is annoying. I'm not quite sure why they made it cost 2 bars of gauge and made it take so long to actually get out, but that's the tools we have to work with. All right, there we go. Now we can get this one out. And you can also use Flash Bomb Bay there. That is more predictable for you. It just depends on what resources you have at the moment. This should hit him. Never mind. He did that weird. Again, he's being very uncooperative. The last time I did with him, he was being a lot more cooperative. And I did lose an acorn there, but that's okay. A lot of times you won't lose an acorn if you're not trying to go for these two options. I don't know. It may be more consistent damage-wise just to not even worry about them, because you are dealing some decent damage. Generally in the first area, I got him down to either 75 or 73% I got him down to with this weapon in that first area that we fought him in, which is pretty decent. And that is including the time it takes to charge up your standard buffs. So once you get to another area, you're pretty fine. The ledge tried to sabotage that there. Didn't let it happen. We dodged into it, which is good. Flamethrower. Dodge forward. And again, you can see that one press hitbox is very large for what you would hope it to be, which is unfortunate. And again, I don't think this is the most enjoyable fight if you don't have either a shield for whatever reason. Even then, shields aren't great in this game, or adept dodging. Adept is just like really the king of being able to maneuver around this monster's attacks. And even then, it's not easy. You still have to get the timings down and stuff for it, or else you will be hit by combo attacks and whatnot. And I've been looking at, whenever I did the test hunts of this, you're probably, unless you're focusing the face 100% of the time, not going to get many, if any, KOs. Since the face isn't the best hit zone, you're not really focusing on it too much anyways. If you get a break from boomerang residual damage, either megas or just regular, that's fine. However, your KO damage is ludicrously small for what it used to be in Generations. Like, you get 6 for a volley, and I think the initial is like 200 or something like that. Actually, it may have been 600. So yeah, it takes a very long time to build up actual good chances for KOs, and by the time you actually build it up, you may just be out of gauge. It's okay on some monsters, like on Crystalbeard. That's the recent EX that I did. Yeah, you're gonna do that because you do want the face break anyway, so you have a decent hit zone to go for, so you're gonna be getting 1 or 2 KOs, but also you're focusing on the face the entire time, and this would be a similar story. However, the rest of his body has decent hit zones, as opposed to Crystalbeard, who has pretty much nothing. The arms are a weak spot, but they're surrounded by such terrible hit zones, you would rather just go for the face and get that break. I'm going to go ahead and try to get a flash bomb babe out here. I do want to wait there just in case he does see it, or he does not get off the ground before we actually, you know, get that explosion off, which is good. We want to get that down at the very least, that he's forced on the ground. Has that little animation. There's the face break. Again, happens a lot earlier with the blunt weapon. I don't think the blunt hit zone is too much higher than the cutting hit zone. I do think it is a bit higher because it is the head. You know, usually they have the higher hit zones on that. Get a good down. There's the KO. Finally. And again, I've been focusing on it a little bit more than I normally have, so it is nice to get a KO down every once in a while. Throw a couple of those out. He's going to do a shake off. This may be greedy. He can fireball me. That's okay though. If I take the hit, get a flinch anyways. Perfectly fine. I'm going to throw one more boomerang out here. That could have been a tackle that hit me, but he did just do the fake out tackle, so we're fine. Looks like our Palico's got a poison, which is surprising. I think it's either 200 or 180 for a poison from what I checked before. I do not remember. It's one of the two. I think it's 180, and then poison doesn't scale very well after that. So depending on how much you actually lock him down and let your Palicos hit him, which technically they shouldn't be hitting him that much because I'm trying to keep them off of him so they don't just get one shot by everything. But it may just end up happening randomly because they do like to get out of their role a little bit. And that's why we give them poison weapons, so they can actually maybe help out on the damage front a tiny little bit with poison. Little air tackle there. We'll throw this one out. There are Bullfango in this area. He can do a lot of damage to the Bullfango. He's just aiming at my Palico here, so I'm not really too scared. I'm going to go ahead and throw that out. He's going to back jump. There's the 15-minute. So he should be very low on health. At the very least, under 20%. Again, these normally take longer. If I can say it again, they take longer. Just because I'm trying to play it a little bit safer. All right, boomerang out here. He's going to do a little swoop into the big quadrant fireball. I'm going to actually, never mind. I was going to try to throw a flash bomb bay out there, but if you do time your your inputs incorrectly, you will just do a block cancel, which is not good. This is a very long animation. You cannot dodge, cancel, or do anything else out of it, which is not fun. Either way, he's limping away, so we'll try to find him wherever he dies. And there we go. Not really too much longer after that. How long did this take? About 18 minutes. So yeah, again, like 3 minutes longer than standard, which is okay. Again, this is not the easiest monster in the world, so getting sub 20, I'm pretty happy with. Just for, you know, a casual standard play of it. And you really do want to get used to this monster's hitbox, or sorry, monster's fight, just in general. I guess the hitboxes on his attacks count as well. And you want to get used to Rathian because I'm sure you can assume what will eventually happen once you take both of them out. Either way, I've covered them up and I'll meet you back at base. All right, back to the hub, have the Legia anchor equipped. We'll go ahead and eat. Insurance would be nice, but we'd rather have Hurler. That's the more important skill. And of course, if you have the Fatalis Rod, go ahead and equip that one because it's just a better thunder weapon. But the quest we're going to be doing now is not for Gold Rathian. It is for a Hyper Shogun Ceanataur. Quest is called No Place to Run, has us hunting a Hyper Shogun Ceanataur in the marshlands. Take the quest. Decided to do this because we've pretty much done the other monsters of the Joe Sienna set, which is what the community likes to call it. So I thought I'd go ahead and do the Ceanataur part as well. Either way, have the quest. Go ahead and head on out. All right, Hyper Shogun Ceanataur. He does not have the Gravios Skull this time, so he can't really use his water attacks until he changes that out. First time I fought him, took a little over 15 minutes, and that was just my warm-up for the day. He's not particularly difficult, especially with cats where you have ranged attacks and stuff. Just stay on your toes, don't get too comfortable attacking. There was something I was doing here where I was throwing a single boomerang out and just positioning, and this would be something where you would do it if you didn't have adept dodges, so you can pretty much just cheese adept for the most part in this fight. Now this little digging attack is a little bit worse when you are fighting him when he's enraged with his claws out, because it does reach a little bit further. You may be caught off guard by it, and it may be a little bit faster too whenever he's enraged, but it's just pretty much a Shogun Ceanataur. I don't really even notice the differences on normal monsters between their attacks. Maybe a faster one or two, but you have to really fight the regular one right next to the hyper one to really notice the major differences, unless it's just something you fight a lot in older games. So something like Rathalos, you'll notice to be a little bit faster. Of course, you can tell which attack it would be if the hyper spot flashes. However, you can't really tell how much different it is. Maybe that little lunge is a bit slower than it normally is, as you can see there, but it's pretty easy to dodge. You have so much warning for it. You can just run out of the way of it. It's not something to worry about. If you're far enough away from him when he starts it, you can just run backwards and start a Mega Boomerang. So that's something you can actually counter with as well. As per usual, if you break the claws, he will be permanent enraged. I think just a single claw being broken will actually trigger that. So if you're using Agitator, that is a useful thing to actually do. I do believe the claws are weaker whenever they are unfolded. And obviously, if you want the claw material, you're going to have to break the claws. That is something I remember from Freedom Unite, where the Ceanataur set is actually pretty decent. In, I think, low rank, maybe a high rank, though. I think it's low rank, though. That's one of the first sets you go for when you finally start getting up in the ranks there. There's a little claw swipe there. Again, he's a little fast. If I could compare him to anything, I know it's a weird comparison, but he does have bleed status, Odogaron. Odogaron's fast, right? Obviously, it's a new gen monster, but still, you know, he will catch you off guard if you are just sitting there and overcommitting to your attacks. You want to wait for him to finish something before you do it. Now, he will just sometimes sit there and growl. Not sure why he does that, but it is something he can do. And I think he can be affected by flash bombs. I think. He didn't get affected by it there, but it may, and he may not. I don't remember exactly. We're going to actually test this out live. Why not? Well, never mind. That's not going to work. So I still don't know for sure. I want to say I've seen one affected by flash bombs. However, I can just make that up in my head too and just be misremembering. So we're going to find it out as soon as he quits doing this. Of course, as soon as he actually finishes, he usually will end where his last little attack was. So you can actually counter him with a Mega Boomerang here. Get this one out. I'll have to recharge for a flash bomb, but it's okay. I really was just doing that for fun. And again, hyper slots are weaker, so if you want to go for the body, I believe that's the body. It may be the front right leg. It's kind of weird though. That doesn't have an attack. Maybe, I don't know. That's actually a really weird spot. I can't tell exactly what it is. It was a sweet dodge into it, but the claw is weaker, the one that is charged up. Now it may go back and forth between the claws. I haven't really noticed that, but again, you can tell I'm not the most astute observer in the world, or really much at all. So you may know that better than I do. Claw swipe. And again, just lots of light claw swipes. That should not hit me. I can actually counter him here. Throw one more boomerang. Here comes the charge. Gonna lunge there. Again, it's a fairly simple fight. Not much changes. The only thing that can change is just him being permanently enraged once you break a claw, which is not the end of the world. You know, it just gives you, I guess, more chances to actually activate your agitator and whatnot. And yes, he is faster when he's enraged, so you will get less chances to attack. But again, compared to the other monsters we've been fighting, it's not anything really to write home about. Little thing he does up on the ceiling, I think he can spray water from that if he has the Gravio Skull. However, he does not, so he can't. All right, we're gonna try this again. Hopefully you look at me. No, you're not looking at me. You are a very inconsistent monster on where you face your head. Okay, this should work. I delayed it long enough. Never mind. And again, he walks weird. So just take this as a tip to probably just not even worry about Flash Bombay. That was unfortunate. We really do not like ledges. I would have been fine, but I did dodge, and I dodged into a ledge, which puts you into not only a really just long animation, but I feel like they should give you iframes for it or something. It is a little silly because sometimes it's something you can't avoid. Some maps just have them littered throughout. Like here, there's only a couple of spots, but they're still kind of there right in the way. And you're like, oh, well, just position better. Well, yes, but at that point, it's just like, get good, don't get hit at all. And then, you know, I might as well just be using collect if I'm doing that, right? Got him on the ground here. We'll throw a Mega Boomerang out. He will pierce or be pierced through his shell, which won't be dealing the most damage. However, again, you're going to pierce right straight to the head, so I think it's okay. Yeah, very, very comfortable with him actually doing that charge attack there. So I'm going to try to maybe actually focus on doing the fight well and not just talking and rambling. I think that might work out a lot better. Okay, that's the last one. That explodes, we should be clear. Okay, he cannot be afflicted by flash bombs. His eyes are completely black, so I assume maybe, I don't know. You know what? I'm not going to say anything. I don't even know how that works. I thought if your eyes were filled up more, they let more light in, so that would be better, but he's not a human. He's a crab. Again, I thought for some reason crabs could be affected by flash bombs, but and maybe Shogun can, or not Shogun. We're fighting Shogun. Maybe Daimyo can, but certainly Shogun can't. Something I did forget to mention was that Hyper Silver Rathalos had about 12,000 HP, a little bit over. I think 12,200, something like that. And then this guy actually has very similar health pool to Savage Devil Joe and Hyper Devil Joe, I think. At 14,000, which is a very large amount, but he's also very squishy, so he'll go down a lot faster than those other two monsters. All right, past the 15-minute mark, get a knockdown. Trying to go for the claws. I'm not really putting that much effort into it. Well, I say that, and then immediately it breaks. Other one should hopefully be close to breaking, but now he will pretty much, once he gets done with this little animation, he should permanently be enraged, especially after I break that second one. Which will be good, at the very least. I think he is, maybe not. I thought he just permanently got enraged. I know certainly that's a thing in Freedom Unite. Maybe they changed it, but they are broken now at the very least, so we will get the part rewards for it. Normally when he's enraged, he'll have bubbles coming out of his mouth, so that's why I find it kind of weird that he's not. Unless it's just he'll become enraged, and then he'll be permanently enraged after, like that. Now he's enraged. We'll see if it goes away. I don't know if it will, though. Alright, little claw grab there as a swipe. Has much less range since, you know, he doesn't have those extensions on his claws anymore. Comes a little digging attack. Very simple, just run forward. I was hit by it before. Again, it's weird. When his claws are extended, they do kind of have this little delayed effect where they will not hit immediately, but they will reach out pretty far and hit. They're not doing the most damage, obviously. I guess it's just scary if you get comboed, but it's not really the end of the world. Again, he's not the most interesting monster in the world. I think it's a fun fight still. It keeps you on your toes, because a lot of the things he can do can combo you to death since you're not being flinched by a lot of it. So you're not getting as much of a chance to actually just reflect on, hey, maybe I should slow it down, but he's allowing me to still do damage, so I'm just going to keep doing it. And you can be very easily comboed just by chip damage to death if you're not careful about that. Of course, we don't have to worry about that because we have acorns, but if you are playing as a hunter, you got to be careful, especially as a gunner. Though I do believe gunner weapons are really good against the crabs, like they're particularly weak to pierce. Like, so much so to where they go down really quickly, even the EX versions of them. So that's nice at the very least. I do believe they also have a very strong thunder weakness. It's been a while since I've actually looked at the type weakness chart, but I just know that thunder is the best, and it works pretty well here at the very least. Again, 14,000 HP is nothing to sniff at. So that's okay. Did a little claw swipe downwards. And if you want to, you can go for the legs for a topple. You may be getting it occasionally. It's not going to be something you're getting too often. It's not like Seregios where it's a weak spot, but it's also not a hard spot either. So you may want to go for that if you want more downs. There aren't really too many attacks that he can do, or any ones that he spams at the very least, that do give you a chance for a Mega Boomerang. Like this one here, I think I'm fairly safe for. I'm right behind him. He doesn't have a water beam or anything, so I think that's fine. He's going to try to walk away. He should be very, very, very low on health, though. He's already limped for one area, and now he's just dug away to the next one. All right. Hopefully this will be it. I'm going to wait for him to overcommit to something, maybe. This looks fine. It's fine. It'll just be chipped. Throw that out. He's going to do his little grab hug attack, which you can actually just dodge it under if you're a cat. Easier than you can if you're a hunter. You can still do it as a hunter. There's a shopping cart. He likes to pull that out randomly, especially after other attacks that you think you've just dodged and you're safe, but you're not. You get hit by that. It doesn't do that much damage, especially if both of your defense buffs are up, but if they're not, you may actually take quite a bit from it. Either way, there we go. And as you can see, actually, before he died there, I don't think there was a hyper spot on the claw, so it actually can move off the claws. I thought it didn't, but yeah. You can tell I haven't really fought this guy very much since, you know, we're cats. We don't have to. We don't have to farm the meta DPS set for hunters because that's not, we're not, or that is what we're not at the very least. Either way, I'm going to finish carving them up. I'll meet you back at base. All right, back to the hub. We actually have a weapon we can look at now, finally. The Siennatar Cutter XR. 189 melee attack with 45% affinity after critical up large, so it'd be 25% affinity, which is still fairly decent for what your other options are. Bite sharpness is also pretty okay. However, boomerang, not really that good. 171 is not great. Obviously, you have better options, and you still have the 25% affinity, but this is just better in every single way. Better sharpness, better raw, better affinity. There's no real reason to use that weapon for boomerang whatsoever, which is obvious. It says a close range weapon, so you're going to be using it as a close range weapon. However, I think this one's still better. 179 with purple sharpness and 5% more affinity. Yeah, you lose 10 raw, but I think that's worth the trade. 5% affinity and a step up on sharpness, which white to purple isn't the best in the world. You know, it's not as good as blue to white or green to blue, but I think it's better than 10 raw, especially with that affinity and the deviant boost to your support gauge. So not anything you'll be using. As for the armor, only 142. Again, you're not going out of your way to make this for actual defense purposes, and the design isn't any different. So if you want a blue crab, you're just going to make the regular Siennatar armor and not really think much more about it, because you get that a lot earlier and a lot easier than the hyper version. Either way, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please consider leaving a comment below and maybe even consider subscribing. Until next time, bye.